right, Matt, let's go ahead and wrap it up. I think we talked about everything we need to talk about now. So,
Yeah, I think it's been a good episode.
Yeah.
With that, I'm Matt.
And I'm Jamie, and let's start this episode. Oh, my God. We ended it before we started.
Oh, my goodness.
Let's keep her going. All right, so today we are talking about grilled blackened catfish with
cilantro, lime,
butter. Oh, my God.
My phone turned off on me. I was like,
okay, you're not giving me like the lifeline.
Oh, man. You know, it's because you threw everything off because it's like you said we're done. So I just turned it off. It's like, all right, on to the next.
Yes. No,
it's like that was quick. That was one of the quickest episodes ever.
I got you good. All right, yeah. So anyways, today we're talking about fish, and we all know that Matt likes chicken the best, and I think a close second would be fish. Is that correct?
Yes. Yeah, fish is something that, my very first job was at a nice restaurant, and they had the Friday fish fry, and the owner said, eat as much fish as you want, and I did, and I just continually got sick from all the grease because it was beer-battered fried fish, to the point where I no longer could eat it, and that was really the only way I enjoyed fish. So it's been many years since really even trying fish other than salmon that we did last season.
Yeah. Now, I'm pretty sure that a fish fry is more of a Midwestern thing. Does that sound right?
I mean,
anywhere I've been to, any other state I've been to, I bring the topic up and people are like, yeah, I've never heard of that. And it sounds good, though, but yeah. I mean, traditionally, a fish fry consists of beer-battered cod and or perch. And you got your side of fries, and sometimes, if you're lucky, you get a potato pancake
or
some applesauce, rye bread,
yeah,
and it's delicious. So that's been your aversion now to fish,
right?
Because of that.
Because of that, I just couldn't eat it because I had got sick so much.
Yeah.
16-year-old Matt just said, eat as much as you want. So I did, and then that grease, like I said, just woke up sick every night.
Yeah.
On Friday fish fry, big thing.
Maybe it's the fish. Maybe that's why I'm sick.
Yeah, so I just haven't done it. But, a few weeks ago when we actually were at the store, I forgot what we were getting. Maybe it was when we did the baklava and burek, that we're walking through the store and I seen catfish.
Okay.
And then and don't ask me why, especially given my stance on fish. It was stuck that we have to do catfish.
Like you felt compelled to do it.
I was really excited to do this.
It's funny because I've been watching a show called Reservation Dogs, and it's about these Native Americans, and all they do, like these teenagers, and all they do is they eat a ton of catfish. I'm like, that's funny, haha. But it's not funny to me because I don't really eat catfish. I don't think I've ever actually had catfish.
Okay.
So yeah, when you brought it up, I'm like, that's coincidentally, I'm watching a show and that's all they do is eat catfish and so on and so forth. So when you text me, you said, let's do catfish for this week. I said, let's
and I was so excited, and it's like, but yet in the back of my head, it's like, I'm probably going to take one bite and be like, yep, I still don't like fish.
Right.
But we'll get into that later.
But you didn't. Sneak peek.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to get ahead of ourselves and because then if I say, our thoughts on it right now, everyone's just going to turn it off and not listen anymore.
Sure. We gotta hook them. So
we gotta hook them
to the whole thing.
Yeah, a little tease maybe.
Right. All right. Anyways, so let's start the show, and again, we're doing blackened catfish. So that is a blackened seasoning, and what makes it black? My guess would be the char that you get and the black pepper that it consists of, and I think there's. We'll go over the seasonings in a minute.
Yeah, and I don't necessarily know if when they called it the blackening seasoning, if it actually gives you that black color, or if it's just a name they call it.
Right.
I don't know. We'd have to ask someone probably down south.
Send us an email.
Yeah, shadetreechefs@gmail.com.
Please.
Thank you.
We're lonely.
Jamie especially.
He
needs a friend.
I need a friend. Anybody out there? Anyone? Awesome. All right. So do we want to talk about how we got here and how we started today's cook, or I'll let you start.
Yeah. So, all right. So Jamie made some sort of excuse this morning about not being able to go to the store with me. So I had to venture on my own.
Well, the kids are on spring break, so there's that. And spring in Wisconsin means snowfall the other day. So
yeah, nice snowfall, heavy, wet, about 6 inches.
Yeah, and I mean, thank the heavens, because today is a perfect day to cook, because now it's warming back up. I think it's low 40s,
Yeah,
upper 30s.
Upper
But the sun
30s.
is out, it's strong, and it's a really awesome day to cook. And so I made you do all the shopping, bring everything over by me, because I am here with my littles.
Yes.
And you came through, but you didn't get the molasses because you're forgetful.
But that's not
Jones.
even for this recipe.
And it's for another recipe, and you forgot the basil for.
Well, here's the thing though, is like I could have swore last. So last night, we're shoring things up. Won't lie, we're doing 2 cooks today. We have 2 episodes that we're going to record, and so we each come up with a recipe for the other thing we're going to do, and he kind of links me something, and I asked him a question like, "Do you have this? I thought I seen it at your house," and he ghosted me, completely ghosted me. So now I'm supposed to remember what's in his pantry, and I guessed wrong.
You can guess way wrong.
Yeah, I guess I should have just went to your wife.
To the wife, yeah.
And she would have
Should have been like,
told
no, dude.
me.
No,
Yeah,
dude.
no.
No, I think we were watching Return of the Jedi, Star Wars, last night when you text me, and it's like somebody texts you and you're like, oh, I should probably get back to them, and then you forget, and then the subject changes and you never get back to them. So that's what it was. So that's my excuse.
Right.
I'm sorry.
So you're gonna complain I forgot something that I didn't know I needed.
And I'm going to apologize because I'm the bigger person.
You neither confirmed nor denied that you had these ingredients.
Yeah. So, yeah. Anyways, so the fish. You found a good deal on the fish. I think you said it was what, 2 for $11, two fillets?
I think it was. It might have been $6.99 a pound. So it wasn't the cheapest fish in the rack, but it looked pretty good. Not saying I'm a great judge of fish,
right?
Because it's not often I eat it. So I said, hey, give me 2 fillets, and so he gave them to me. I had to pick up a few other things. Not much for the.
I asked for him, and he gave them to me.
He gave them to me, and he's like looking at me. He's like, "That's enough." I'm like, "You put 2 in there, right?"
He's like, "Are you
He's looking
sure?"
at the weight. I'm like, "Just want 2."
Just want 2, man.
Because like I said initially, I'm like, I'm probably going to have a bite of it, pretend like I like it for a
Spit it out
video, and then say, yeah, well, I'm glad we tried it, which wasn't the case. So first things first that we did was actually make our cilantro lime butter.
And that's for on top, right, at the end?
Yeah, that's for on top at the end. So why did we do that first? Because it asked for softened butter, right? So we didn't have softened butter, so we just, through 10-second intervals, took 2 tablespoons of butter, 10 seconds. So I think in all, I think it was about 20 seconds, and then it was soft enough. It called for the 2 tablespoons of butter softened, 2 tablespoons of cilantro minced, 1 garlic clove minced, and 1 lime. I didn't like the size of the garlic clove. Maybe it's just me. If it calls for 1, unless it's like this massive, like half of a bulb of garlic.
Like an overgrown clove. Yeah.
Right. I'm using more than that. So we used 2 smaller ones.
And you looked at me, you're like, should I do more? I'm like, yeah, like more is more.
Right. I mean, it's garlic.
It's garlic.
So then we kind of mixed it up, right? And then it said to roll it into a log, wrap it in like aluminum foil, put it back in the fridge, let it kind of harden up. So we did that. Next was making our
seasoning. Our blackened season.
Yeah. Do you want to go over what?
Yeah, no, sure. So blackened seasoning consists of a tablespoon and a half of paprika, a tablespoon of garlic powder. So we are a little bit more garlic. A tablespoon of onion powder, a tablespoon of ground thyme. Now we're on to the teaspoon of black pepper, which is just regular ground pepper. Teaspoon of cayenne pepper, which was a good choice. I'll say at the end. And a teaspoon of dried basil, of which we didn't have.
Right. Which I mean, like,
So
that was like a staple. Like, if it's salt, pepper, basil, I would put, garlic powder, onion powder. I think I would have thought everybody'd have in their pantry.
Basil.
but not at Jamie's house. That and steak knives, which I did look. I did not see that edition
We
yet.
still don't have that yet.
Yeah. Well, you know what to ask Santa Claus.
Yeah, a couple more months. All right. So yeah, I mean, we mixed those seasonings together and made our rub, and you actually took the fish and you soaked it in water for
Yeah, so I was looking.
An hour.
There again, not being used to cooking fish, so I did a little bit of research on the intranets, and I did see a video. It was like, hey, if it like the center part, if it looks dark, something like that, it's saying there still could be blood in it, and to soak it to kind of get that out. So I'm like, kind of had that, so why not? So put it in some water. Took a little squeeze of lemon juice because he had one of those bottles of, it looks like a lemon, but it's
not.
a plastic bottle with just juice in it.
Yeah, don't take a bite.
Don't take a bite. So I put some of that in there, and we just kind of let it go. So we mixed together the seasoning. Next part was to get the grill going.
Yep. And for this one, we needed to get a medium to medium high heat. So we're talking, 350, 400 degrees,
Yep.
thereabouts. And so we got that going. While that's going, Matt said surprise, and he pulled out a pair of knockoff Cuban cigars, which I'm like, heck yeah, dude. And
Cuban rejects, although they were not from Cuba.
They're not from Cuba. They're probably from
Nicaragua, I believe.
But realistically Chicago or something.
Well, I mean, that I don't know, but I don't know why they call them Cuban rejects when they've never been to Cuba.
Right.
Unless they fly them there, but then that just seems logistically they shouldn't be that cheap then.
True. But anyways, yeah, no. So you brought out cigars. We smoked a couple cigars while the fire got going, and we talked about our lives. And
it was a very, very quiet moment.
Condensed, like 30 seconds. Boom.
A lot of awkward time as we're waiting for that fire to get going.
Yeah. So we got through it. And so we got our heat going, and you got the seasoning ready to go. And so we go back in there. We get our fish rubbed down. Everything was looking good.
Yeah, took it out of the water. Kind of. Actually, I didn't even pat it down. Figured some of that moisture might help get that seasoning
lock it in
to stick. So season both ends. At that point, we still had a little bit of time before the grill was ready.
Yeah, and I cleaned it down very well. I used my wood scraper because I don't like to use metal scrapers, and we talked about that in our tools, equipment, accessories podcast episode. And I scraped everything down because I didn't want, I think I had some cheese or some beef, some sort of leftover cook from last time.
Yeah.
Clean that off.
So the recipe did say, hey, put oil on the grates. And Jamie said, no, I'm not going to do that.
I believe in it. Yeah.
And they said, to prevent from sticking, not to get ahead of ourselves, but we did not put oil, and it did not stick.
So we're good.
So we're good with that.
Could just be the grates that I had. Really fancy stuff.
Yeah. Just the OEM, what your
What did
Weber
it come
grill
with?
came with.
Yeah, what did it come with? Yeah.
But, I mean,
Stainless
it worked.
Yeah,
So we mentioned that the temperature outside, everything, a little bit of wind picked up. We did run into we were a little hot to begin with.
Yeah, and we're like, oh, not good. It was over 400 degrees.
We're sitting at about 450 to start.
Yeah, which is high heat, and we're like, no, don't want that. So we quashed that and got it right back down to the world of reality. And we checked it two ways with our lid temp, and I have that digital thermometer.
Yep.
So finally got it back down to about, upper threes.
Yeah.
Got it good to go. Threw our fish on there, and we had videos. Look to see that. I think it was about, 7 minutes?
Yeah,
7 to 10 minutes each side?
Yeah, I called 5 to 7. It ended up being a little more for us. Yeah. The other thing we really weren't sure of, because neither of us really make fish often, was, okay, direct, indirect. So we decided to go more of that indirect.
Yeah, so we banked all our coals on one side of the grill and just kept it easy and threw our fish on the other side.
After flipping, we realized what? We might want to put a little sear on it.
Give it a little kiss.
Give a little kiss of that flame.
Yep.
So we did that. Took a little bit longer. I think when we squashed it, maybe it killed it a little bit further than we wanted, but I mean, would it take us maybe extra 5 minutes?
5 minutes, yeah.
So, but also weather factor of that. Like I said, there was a little bit of a breeze, so I guess maybe on our offset we weren't quite to that temp. We didn't have another temp probe sitting great level,
Right.
to really know.
But we got it done. You gave it a little sear and pulled it off. And so after we pulled it off, it looked incredible. The coloring was amazing with that blackened sear seasoning that we chose and went with it. And it temped out perfect. I think it was sitting at 149, even at the thickest point.
Yeah.
So pulled them off, put them on the cutting board, and you kind of cut the butter up.
Yes.
It got cold again.
Got cold.
In the fridge. You cut that up into little, what are they called?
Little like discs, right?
Discs.
Little discs.
You had a name for it like 2 episodes ago. Like
I don't even
things of
remember.
butter. Okay, that's all right. He's giving me a blank stare like I'm talking
Yeah,
about,
I
like,
don't remember
spaceships.
that. That's a long time ago, man.
Old you. Yeah, so pulled it off, and we put our butter on there, let that melt down a little bit, and let that go back and soak into the fish itself.
Yeah, we had to kind of smear it around. It was cold, so it was starting to melt, but moved around. Just think of like a hot pan, right? You just put some butter and you move it around, helps melt it.
And the butter itself had butter, or consisted of butter, your garlic cloves,
cilantro, and
lime juice. Okay.
So once we put the compound butter on, took a little more fresh cilantro. I cut a little bit too much. Put that on, and then gave a squeeze of lime on the top.
Mm.
Then we tried.
We tried it. So you gave it a rating, and I think I stand by the rating that you gave it. And what was that?
I gave it an 8 of 10.
I'm going to agree with you. That was really good.
The thing is, now the one thing I would say was, there was no, salt to it. Like, we tasted it because I brought Old Bay just in case you didn't have some of the seasoning. So before we even put it on, we kind of taste tested between the two. It's like the recipe we were using, there's no salt on it. And we just said, we're just going to go with it and see how it is. We can always add salt to it.
And that's the thing. You don't want to add salt to begin with because you can't subtract salt.
No.
You can always add salt.
Right. Yeah, I mean, now with the test of time, will that stay an 8? I don't know. But coming from someone that really, I figured that I would have one bite of this and get that fishy flavor or, just not like it. I took that first bite and I was surprised there was no fishiness to it.
And they say if you smell fish, if it smells like fish, chances are it's past freshness. And we opened the bag up before we did anything to it. It didn't really smell fishy at all.
No, and I mean this came from the deli area, so this wasn't frozen. Mm-hmm. It looked pretty good, and I like I said, I'm not a great judge of raw fish, but it looked good. I mean, even when we took it out, before we seasoned it, you were like, oh, let's smell it. Mm-hmm. I'm like, all right, man, go ahead. And it really didn't have much of a smell to it.
No.
So you could get, that some bites you get a little bit of that cayenne. Now, it wasn't overpowering. You could get some of that cilantro in there from the butter.
It had a mild bite from that pepper. Very mild. It wasn't like 5 alarm. You didn't have to take a sip of water. And it was also not salty because you did add kosher salt at the end.
I did actually no. I just used your table salt.
Table salt
that you had in that little automatic dispenser.
And you hate it.
I hate
a little
the thing.
Lightsaber battery operated salt and pepper dispensers, and you push a little button and it grinds it up, and it's really really awesome.
Yeah. So we brought it inside after we tasted it. Did finish the video we were making, and you know what? I think a little bit of salt probably would help. So at that point, I wasn't gonna. I'm like, he probably doesn't have kosher salt, anyways. I mean, no steak knives, no basil, kosher salt.
Who do you think I am, man? What the?
He does have a refrigerator, so I mean that's something.
You could be a cool guy and bring some steak knives over.
Yeah, you probably come over to eat at Jamie's. I'm gonna bring my own just for myself.
A travel set. Hey, I came prepared. Check out my steak knives. Wow, wee wah.
So like I said, a year from now, this definitely opens myself up to trying more fish.
More fish. I think, Yes, I think we should do more fish. We have stuff we haven't done yet. We've got tuna. We've got
Sea bass.
bass.
Trout.
we need to talk to somebody who actually goes fishing. Not me, not you.
No.
And maybe do some fry up some fresh fish from the lakes.
From the lakes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So, like I was saying, I don't know if it'll stand up to the test of time at that 8, but I mean, it just came out and it was very, very shocking.
Didn't taste like fish. Tasted like meat.
Right.
You know, it's weird to describe or hard to describe it.
I mean, I'd say it's a milder fish.
Yeah.
You know, as far as flavor, the seasoning wasn't even overpowering. So it's not like for me, I'm not a big fan of chicken. I can eat chicken wings, but at that point, I'm masking it with either the breading or the sauce and rub. Right, I want that one bite and the whole thing's gone.
Yeah. You typically take a bite or take a fork of it and you dip it in the sauce and mask all that flavor of your fish or meat.
Right, and it wasn't. You know, it was the rub complemented the fish, gave it a little bit,
and that compound butter was awesome.
Yeah, I think that worked real well with the seasoning we had, but nothing was overpowering.
Right. All right.
Another thing too, you mentioned we had the cigar and we got going. We do have.
It was after lunchtime. It was after 12 o'clock.
It was afternoon, so it was about 12:20.
12:20,
and it was then decided that it was time to have.
Man, I'm thirsty.
We were both a little thirsty.
Yep.
So we decided to have an adult beverage.
And you popped open Lakefront's Eastside Dark Lager.
Yes. Eastside Dark, a dark lager.
And I think last episode we talked about Moon Man, made by Nuclearis,
yes,
being possibly our beer of the year. But I'm kind of second guessing that now that I drink this.
There's there's a lot of beers that we have had that we just haven't had in a while.
Right.
So I think it's not going.
Yeah, I've had this before. I know I've had this before.
Yeah.
It's just 5 years ago?
Well, and I think the worst statement you had was beer of the year. Right, let's get out of that. Hey, this is just that standby and
getting out of our rut.
Getting out of the rut of drinking the same thing over and over of going and grabbing something different.
All right, I'll stop saying beer of the year because we're gonna try fresh stuff every time.
Right, just like when we cook. Right, we cook something different each week. We're gonna have to try different beer. We're gonna have to keep a spreadsheet of that too, because eventually we're 5-6 weeks from now, I was like, guys, today we're tried a new beer, Eastside Dark, and people listening are like,
dude,
they just talked about this beer. It's like, man, I haven't had that in years.
These guys are dorks.
No, actually, you had it about 5 weeks ago.
Yeah. Send us an email if we've done that.
Right. I don't think we have so far.
Send me an email. I'm lonely.
Yeah. Jamie needs friends.
I need friends.
If you'd like to sponsor
for 5 cents a week,
or a steak knife,
and
some basil,
yep, and molasses,
yes.
Awesome. Now we should really wrap the episode up because I think we've really
talked
about it.
Amazing. I'm glad we did it. It lived up to that anticipation and hype I had in my head for it. That I was really, like I said, I don't know why I had such that hype, because odds were I was going to be let down, because as far as I knew, I didn't like fish, and this was. I'm glad for some weird reason this was something I had to cook, because I will most certainly have
more
catfish again.
Yes. There's different ways to cook it. We could fry it. We can pan sear it.
There's tons of different ways.
So
like anything.
All right, catfish. Thanks for listening. I am
Dark.
Jamie,
and I am Jamie.
Wait.
Catch us on. I'm Matt.
Okay, we gotta get better at this, dude.
We are Shade Tree Chefs. He's Jamie,
and I'm Matt. Until next time. Until next week.
Until next week.
Yow.
Bye-bye. Shade Tree Chefs.